Good evening and welcome to the August 18th, 2021 legislative session of the Penfield Town Board. We'll welcome everyone. We'll ask everyone here in the auditorium if they'll please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'll ask our clerk to please call the roll.
Draw.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
LaFountain.
Present.
Moore.
Here.
Ockenden.
Here.
All right. This evening on the original agenda that was struck, there was a public hearing to allow a restaurant with outdoor dining at 1776, 1778 Penfield Road, located in the Four Corners zoning district. That matter has been withdrawn and will not be heard this evening. So with that, we'll move along in our agenda. We'll move on to communications and announcements. And I'll first recognize our clerk for any communications and announcements.
And I have none tonight.
All right. Councilperson Draw.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I don't know if everybody's received this. It hit my mailbox today. It's the Fall 2021 program for Penn Rec. Begins September 1st. There's a lot of great things in this. I just wanted to call one thing out because I know a lot of people are waiting for this. And Good Neighbor Day is coming in Saturday, October 23rd, so you can mark your calendars, 9 to 12 again. And it's a special fall edition of the Terry Rothfuss Memorial Good Neighbor Day. So that, and along with a whole bunch of other great things, are in this in the rec brochure. So take a look at it when it hits your mailbox. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Ockenden.
No announcements this evening.
All right, I have one item. This is just a reminder. You'll see more on our website. You'll see some press releases as well. The town of Penfield is going to be recognizing the 20th anniversary of 9/11 on Saturday, September 11th at 8:30 a.m. at the Memorial Garden on Jackson Road, just adjacent to the Dolomite Lodge at 1628 Jackson Road. We'll have representatives from the Penfield Fire Company, Penfield Ambulance, and Monroe County Sheriff's Office that'll be there, and as well as our faith community to offer some very short remarks. The flag will be lowered to half-staff, and moments of silence will be observed during the ceremony at the two times that the plane struck the World Trade Center buildings. Parking is available on site. The ceremony is expected to last under 1 hour, and if weather is not cooperating, we'll be moved to the nearby shelter. And then that weekend, the town hall will be illuminated with blue lights in support of the tribute of lights as part of the collective remembrance of 9/11 memorial in New York City and communities throughout the nation. Mr. Moore.
No announcements for me tonight. Right. Thank you.
And Mrs. Cole?
No announcements.
Very good. We'll move on to public participation. You can do that one of three ways if you're here in the auditorium. You can call in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. And I'll just pause for just a moment to see if we have any calls on the magic screen here. And not seeing any. And no one in the audience here at the town hall. There is a second opportunity at the end of the agenda, so if anyone would like to address the board on any matter. We'll move on to additions and deletions board to the agenda this evening. Seeing none, we do have the July 21st, 2021 minutes before us and would entertain a motion of approval for those minutes.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Supervisor.
I'll second those.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilperson Ockenden, seconded by Councilperson Draw. And I'll ask, is there any discussion, comments, regarding those minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote of approval.
Draw.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. Petitions. I'll ask the board, since our last meeting, our clerk and our town attorney, has anyone received any petitions? Okay, very good. Thank you. Move on to resolutions by functions, and we'll begin with law and finance, please.
Appointment of school tax collector for the 2021-2022 school year for the Wayne Central School District.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas Section 37 of Town Law of New York State mandates that collection of school taxes in first-class towns such as Penfield is the duty of the town's receiver of taxes and assessments unless a resolution is adopted by the town board to convey this responsibility to the tax collector appointed by the Board of Education. Whereas Penfield is one of 6 first-class townships within the boundaries of the Wayne County School District. Whereas the tax receiver, as appointed by the Wayne Central Board of Education, as the school tax collector for the Wayne Central School District portion of the town of Penfield for the 21-22 school year. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Penfield hereby approves the appointment of the town of Ontario as school tax collector for the Wayne Central School District portion of the properties in the town of Penfield. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. See no further discussion. I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Draw.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorization for supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement to allow a fence within a storm sewer easement at 5 Terrace Hill Drive.
Moved.
Second.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Penfield hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign a license and hold harmless agreement with the owners of the property at 5 Terrace Hill Drive to permit a portion of a fence to encroach into a sanitary sewer easement to the town of Penfield located at 5 Terrace Hill Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Draw.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Authorize the supervisor to sign lease agreement with the Penfield Symphony Orchestra.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas the town of Penfield desires to enter into a lease agreement with the Penfield Symphony Orchestra to provide office space at the Don Mack Building at 1587 Jackson Road. Now be it resolved that the supervisor is authorized to sign the lease agreement for the office space located in the Don Mack Building, again at 1587 Jackson Road in Penfield, beginning January 1st, 2022, and ending on December 31st, 2024. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Discussion. They have been wonderful tenants. They've been with us a long time, and they're also very efficient because they wanted to make sure everything was taken care of ahead of time. So, seeing no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Draw.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Budget amendment in the library fund for gift and memorial activity.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas at their monthly meetings, the library board recognized revenue through June of 2021 totaling $290.96 in gift and memorial fund. And whereas at their monthly meeting, the library board approved expenses through June of 2021 totaling $6,760.81 from the gift and memorial fund. Whereas the town board desires to have an up-to-date budget in relation to current appropriations and revenues. Now be it resolved that the following 2021 budget amendment be approved. From revenue for gift and memorial interest in the amount of $241.21, and under appropriations under gift and memorial expenses, $6,760.81. Under gift and memorial gift and donations, under revenue in the amount of $49.75, and again under revenue, under budget surplus, $6,469.85. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing no further discussion, roll call vote of approval, please.
Draw.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Setting a public hearing for an amendment to the zoning ordinance and map to consider rezoning of 5.16 plus minus acres from limited business to general business of 2218, 2222, and 2226 Penfield Road.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board pursuant to Chapter 250-15.1 of the Code, amending the zoning ordinance and map to rezone 5.61 acres plus or minus from limited business to general business at the properties of 2218 2222 and 2226 Penfield Road. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Penfield shall hold a public hearing at the Penfield Town Hall on September 15th, 2021 at 7 p.m. on said date to consider said application on the zoning ordinance, on amending the zoning ordinance and map to rezone 5.16 plus or minus acres from limited business to general business pursuant to Chapter 250-15.1 of the code. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, Board? Seeing no further discussion, a roll call vote of approval for the resolution?
Draw.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes. Granting an amendment to the zoning ordinance and map to allow a rezoning of 7.5 plus or minus acres from limited industrial to general business of a portion of 125 Panorama Creek Drive.
Moved.
Second.
Whereas an application has been received by the Penfield Town Board pursuant to Chapter 250-15.1 of the code to amend the zoning ordinance and map to rezone 7.5 plus or minus acres from limited industrial to general business at a portion of 125 Panorama Creek Drive. Whereas the public hearing was held pursuant to Chapter 250-15.1 of the Penfield zoning ordinance and 265 of the New York State Town Law on August 4th, 2021 at the Penfield Town Hall at 7 p.m. Whereas the applicant did present his facts and in case for the request of rezoning and where no citizen input was received, and therefore the public hearing was closed and a decision was reserved. And therefore, and whereas the board has determined that the rezoning of the subject property on 7.51 acres will not have a significant effect on the environment based on the following findings. For the record, Mr. Supervisor, I'd like to point out there are 9 findings. These are consistent with environmental review of these type of properties. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Further discussion, Board? Okay, we held a public hearing. Had the opportunity to discuss it last week at our work session. I think all the input that was received, questions asked, everything was addressed. Seeing no further discussion or comments, I'd ask for a roll call vote of approval, please.
Draw.
Aye.
Cole.
Aye.
LaFountain.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
Ockenden.
Aye.
5 ayes.
Great. Thank you. This brings us to old business. Is there any old business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none. Is there any new business to come before the board this evening? Again, seeing none. This brings us to our second public participation. Again, you can do that one of 3 ways if you're here in the auditorium. You can do that by calling in at 340-8771, or you can log on at penfield.org. And I'll ask, is there anyone that would like to address the board on any matter? I see Mr. Froome. If I recognize him behind that mask, please come right up to this first table and speak right into the microphone. I know you're not shy. And you may remove your mask if you're comfortable. You may leave it on if you like. So, welcome, sir.
Okay.
For the record.
For the record, Jim Froome. I live on Denonville Ridge. I've been a Penfield resident since 1980. I don't know if I'm allowed to do this as opposed to speak, but I watched your work session last week, and I downloaded the plan, and I'm just curious, can I ask what everybody thinks of the 5 acres in the corner with the hard courts, the parking, the playground, the bathrooms, and all that?
I think, we don't take a formal vote. So what we would encourage is that if you would like to offer up some thoughts or comments, I think it's safe to say that, the board accepted the conceptual master plan. Part of the conceptual master plan showed an area for pickleball courts, as well as some tennis courts, some playgrounds, some open fields, and what have you. And I think that's been consistent with. But I'm not going to take a formal vote, but would welcome thoughts,
Okay.
comments, and input from yourself.
Okay. Okay, that's my second page. I'll get to that in a minute. I was just kind of curious what your opinions were on all that. In terms of the, I guess we'd call it the first phase, the grading of that 5 or 10 acres, the the disc golf course and the pickleball and, you know, maybe the bathroom or whenever that happens. Is that money that's available to get started with this year, or does it have to be budgeted for next year?
So there are definitely a couple of opportunities. So one of the things that, working with BME and Andrew Spencer, we are actually mowing with our town crews, and I think we've got 14 or 15 of the holes for disc golf rough mowed as we speak. I think if you watched the meeting last week, I think they indicated that he was looking to get a group of people, some beginners, intermediates, and then those that might be a little bit more on what I'll call the higher end, professional end. So they're going to look over the next couple of weeks to go through and do that. We're going to be working with Monroe County to get approval for a curb cut or curb cuts. I think the plan shows 2 curb cuts. We'll see if the county accepts that or not. And then we'll be looking to get that culvert or culverts in place, the driveway cut in, and at least a parking lot start to box out. And our hopes would be to get that done with town crews and have that done by this late this fall.
Okay. Then I wanted to add, I'm going to come back to that in a minute.
Absolutely.
I just got 2 other things here. Had a very good conversation, and I think both times I talked to you and the people that talked to you last week, we mentioned Mentor, Ohio, which is a very similar situation to us. There are 50,000 people instead of, what do we have, 38,000 or something here. They're located between Interstate 90 and Lake Erie. We're located between 90 and Lake Ontario. I don't know, I'm guessing they're 30 or so miles to the east of Cleveland. And it's the closest thing I can come to. You know, pickleball is exploding all over the nation, but it's the closest thing I can come to Penfield and what we might expect. About 3-4 years ago, they converted at their rec center, which they have a pool and I believe some kind of skating rink there maybe. I think it might be roller skating or something. Anyway, everything's closed down right now except for the pickleball. And I talked to the rec center head yesterday, and they have 15 courts, and I think I told you earlier they were the only city or town that I found in the country that has more people playing at dinner time than they do at the 7:30 to 11 drop-in. And he said something. I just asked him. I said, "Can you confirm that that's what I wrote down and what you told me?" He said, "Yeah." And he said, "We're going to build 8 to 10 more courts because that's all we can fit in there." He said, besides the 60 people that are playing at dinner time, they have 80 to 100 to 150 people there. He said, "We are so overwhelmed with the number of people." And I asked him about the mixture, and I don't know if he answered me about the, I think I looked in the 2018, we have, I think 22 or 21% people over 65 in Penfield, and I believe I couldn't get a 5 to 18, but 5 to 17, which is pretty close, was in the 17-18% range. So I asked him if they had the same mix, and I don't recall if he gave me the answer, but he did say in the evening play, the majority of them are workers. He said we get all ages, but the majority of them are kind of the 50-year-old plus that come out to play. And he said he just can't imagine, when I told him about Rochester and Greece and all the stuff we have around here, he just said he can't imagine why we won't fill the courts up right away. And I'll go over to the jump over. Let's see what I do with that. I think that's on this one. In terms of the layout, I had just a lot of comments. I don't know what the engineering firm, if they just, I know you approved the master plan last summer. Mm-hmm. And it's in line with what they showed. I agree with that. But some of the comments I have, I would hope that the town would, if they cut down trees along Atlantic, not on the intersection where you've already done, but the rest of it, I would hope as the town takes down trees, we would kind of reposition those trees. And I think as a lifelong resident over around there since the course was built, there's a, I don't know if it's an expectation, but there's a comfort when you drive down along Atlantic as we get all this buildup, that little section right there where there's probably about 160 feet from the sidewalk and then the trees. And I personally don't see any reason why we need to extend and use that part of the 208 acres for anything other than just some sidewalks into the place. And I hope if we take down trees in there, I know there's a lot of rotten trees in there, but that we kind of replant as we go along. The second point is he's got the playground up in the tree line, and I happen to have a 6-year-old I take over to Rothfuss a lot. I would rather see that playground a little farther south, not so close to Atlantic. I don't think there's any reason for it to be up there. Secondly, the bathrooms up there, and from what I understand in talking with them, more than likely the sewer and the water lines are going to come from that Harwood Circle over there. I think the town owns that property, don't they? Or there's a right-of-way.
Right-of-way. Yes.
And again, just generally trying to figure out, because you can look on this map where the trees are, the water and the sewer line would have to go about 1,300 feet to get to the bathroom up on the tree line up there. If it were put south of the area that he's, before the recreational area, the fields that you're going to cut, it would just be south of the pickleball or the hard courts there. You're looking at about 940 feet of run. And, that's 35%. That's money. Right. Plus, if you have the bathroom farther south, it's going to serve the play area, some of the disc golf area, as opposed to being up on the north. So again, these are just suggestions, comments.
Absolutely.
The pickleball courts, he did a little different layout than we proposed, and our proposal is not cut in stone, but we would like to have a little input on maybe if we want to go 4-4-4, 3-3-3, or 6-6. As I tried to put last week, pickleball is very different than tennis in that we're closer together. It's more of a social and a competitive sport, and you don't want to be spread out. You don't want to have friends playing 200 feet away from you. So I'm hoping we can have a little input on how the final layout is going to be of the hard courts. Are the basketball courts going to be part of the phase one? The basketball and the other tennis courts?
I think, Jim, that might be a little premature. I think what we're going to have to do is take a look at overall cost and then how we potentially phase that. Okay. We just received some numbers to do some things back here that I think shocked the board just based on the numbers.
Is that the drainage on the soccer field?
It's looking to do some small bathroom facility, cut in another field, connect to a sewer, put some parking lot in, and what have you. I think the price came back, and I think it opened all of our eyes pretty wide based on the cost.
Well, and that's a problem we're dealing with because the numbers I started with inflation, they're the asphalt check prices haven't changed that much. The oil prices don't raise it that much, but everything else is people are busy, they can't get supplies, so there's a big issue right now, and they're just the people that can get the supplies they're just bidding the prices up because they can. There's not much competition there.
So as we look at that, there's going to have to be some discussions about what does that look like by way of phasing, and how do we do that, and how do we potentially afford that, and of course, any money that might come in to assist that. I'm still counting on that 150 that you keep letting me know that you're going to bring in.
Well, originally, I don't know if I shared this originally, but when I started this and we talked about the work in kind, I guess, after I got all my numbers, I was, we were like, okay, we need to raise $200,000 to $400,000 to do this. $200,000 if we do some work in kind,
right? And
$400,000 or maybe $350 plus whatever. And again, these are the basics. These are not, doing everything all at once.
Yeah, right.
If we raise $1 million, I think I told you we'll help you with the bathrooms and the drinking fountains.
I might start playing pickleball.
There you should. Well, I thought you had an offer last 2 weeks ago.
I have.
Amy can teach you. You're a pickleball.
I understand Amy's in that professional level.
Not really, but I do like the game.
And then just a couple more things here. The parking lot and the curb cut, I'm a little, I'm not an engineer, obviously, but and I understand why they would like to have two, egresses in there, but My feeling is they should be farther south, because the first curb cut is in the turn lane, where the yellow lines start separating the people as they come north. And I think you're all aware that there's a whole lot of big trucks, heavy trucks coming up there, and they don't all abide by the speed limit. And I can't imagine the county and you guys would want driveways that close to the stoplight at Atlantic and Whalen. I think it should be farther south.
That's something that this board raised with Andrew Spencer, because that is a county road. And so just because where he shows those curb cuts, the county will let us know where they want the curb cuts and approve the curb cuts. And I also would be surprised if the county gave us 2 curb cuts, to be honest.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, the Shadow Pines started in 1984, I think, is when they first opened. And, the parking lot there was sometimes pretty full, especially on, the first 20, 25 years on the weekends. And when they had the builders, contractors, they brought 3 golf courses in there and they fed them all there. So the parking lot was filled, the road was filled. And they've always, they had the little driveway off at Clark that you have blocked off now, but very few people use that. Most people were coming off of Whalen. Right. And, that one, I'm trying to think, there's just one driveway there, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah, there's just so. I don't think the one curb cut would be terrible. It's, pickleball and tennis and basketball and all these things. At picnic, people don't come at like 9 o'clock for a big meeting. Right. They kind of, and I remember when you guys, when the town gave the permit to the Shadow Pines, somebody got up and said, oh, there's going to be too much traffic. And they said, wait a minute, we have a tea time every 4 minutes. That's 1 car a minute at most. So, traffic is never, I've lived there all my life, and traffic has never been a big issue on Whalen. If you with the disc golf and the pickleball, you might get the same kind of traffic we used to have there, but I don't think it'll be increased too much. And then my other comment is on the 200-foot deed restriction along Whalen, where we're not supposed to have anything other than a driveway. And I saw on the plan that, he's got some nature walking paths through there, but it just seems to me, instead of putting parking in this little 5 acres that we have for the kids' playground and the picnic area and the hard courts and all that in the bathroom, it just seems to me it would be easier to put that park on the driveway and the parking right in that 200-foot barrier. That would leave us room to put some trees if we wanted. And I can tell you that even though I don't have a surveyor's license, I guarantee you that's where the water runs. The water runs from the corner down to along the road there. That's a slope down towards about 100 yards off the tee. That's the slope there. So the drainage wouldn't be an issue. You might have to put culverts and stuff like that, but there's not going to be a whole lot of work done for drainage up in there. So I would ask the board just to consider some of these things, moving things around a little bit, and consider maybe having the parking in that 200-foot buffer. There's plenty of room, and if you have to expand, you could go around up to Atlantic, or you could go south. And the other thing is, I'd like to see more parking in there. One of the big things they have in Mentor with all the people is they have I don't know how frequently, but he said they have food trucks come in there a lot. And, we had thought that, especially with the disc golf coming and with the number of people who will have pickleball, and the fact that I can bring my granddaughter to play on the jungle gym for an hour, and my wife and I can take turns playing, I would think that's just a great opportunity to keep this little family thing going. I'm not saying it's going to be overwhelming, but, you do it. You do food trucks here for the amphitheater, the music place back there. So I would think we could maybe build something into there. It doesn't have to be fancy, but just enough room. So, if a couple times a week or once a week or a couple times a month, if somebody wants to have some kind of fun night or whatever, we could get some food trucks in there.
Okay.
And I think that's my 2 cents, which is really $1 worth. But I just going to want to reiterate that our group has offered to fund building the pickleball courts, and I would, if we would like to get started as soon as we can. We're being held up. The New York State, whatever they're called, department that does the nonprofits. They're way behind. They've given me the same answer the last month and a half that I've called them, that we're next in line. They don't even know if they have our application and our money. I talked to Senator Brooks, or Brooks, yeah, her, the person that does who works with the funding and stuff.
Yep, Nick.
And he asked me to send him my information, and he would see if they know somebody, and maybe can, because I don't mind that we're in the queue, but what I do mind is if the Postal Service didn't deliver it at the beginning of June, and we got to start over, we go back.
Right.
And so, we can't file for a bank account, we can't do anything until we get that
Until you
number.
get that information.
We got to get the state number. So with that being said, is there anything that we can do or to be more involved in your decisions in that little area as they relate to the pickleball courts?
So you started this conversation off by saying, is there any money that might be available either in the upcoming budget for 2022 or any other source? And so timing-wise, it's a good discussion to have. But as you can imagine, we've got a lot of competing interests for a small pot of money overall. And so hence why we've been trying to do some work on our end in the case of disc golf, doing the mowing we had a period of time with a couple of our guys that were able to get out and actually do some mowing that was laid out by BME. And looking at getting the application in, because it'll take us, even working with the county, it'll take us 30 to 60 days minimum to get approval for a curb cut along that location. So we're working on those things that we can work on that are more what I'll call administrative or with resources that we have available. But as we go through, I mean, one of the hard conversations we always have is where do we spend that money that everyone is looking for, those extra fields at Rothfuss Park, and what can we do here at the softball fields and pickleball and other things. So that's that ongoing delicate balance that this board faces. So we continue to talk about it. It's on the radar. The Shadow Pines property we know is got a lot of interest, so we're doing what we can with what we have. But I can't promise you times and dates and things. I wish I could be able to say that you'd be able to start playing pickleball on June 1st of 2022.
Right. I understand the pot of money part, and I'd like to reiterate that part is that I know there's 2 new board members here, but when we went through the whole Pine things, those of us on that moratorium committee, we had to read all the past plans, and I want to tell you, if you want me to go find them, I will for you, but it says over and over and over for 20 to 30 years that there are not enough sporting fields for seniors.
Right.
Okay? And we get a little jealous when we see all the work being done, and this group gets this, and I was all for the girls softball team when they were here. I'm not sure that's your problem. Might be a Little League problem, but they've got a good case. I think everybody has a good case. But I think if you want to put a pecking order up there, I think us seniors have the best case of all. I mean, go through the town and see how much stuff they have for activities, and then peg the senior activities. We got next to nothing. Okay, and it's such a booming sport, we would somehow like to get, put up the priority list a little bit more. And then there was one other thing. What were you else talking about? Just had one comment on that. You were talking about the money in the pot. Oh, the work in kind. You and I have talked about that before, and I spent a lot of time learning what has to be done in case we didn't get enough money. We had to do that. One of the things that's been brought to my attention by some of your employees is that you don't have the type of equipment that modern people have for building courts in terms of the GPS, in terms of leveling.
Right.
I would like to keep that part open. If possible, I know they work for you and they work for us, pay their taxes. They've been building tennis courts for a lot of years without GPS equipment. And there's laser equipment we can rent to check their work. We're only talking about 2 pads, 64 feet by 204 feet, so it's not like, it's not huge. It's about the same size that you have up at Harris Whalen Park. It'd be a little bit bigger, okay? But one of the asphalt contractors I talked to, I said, would you be amenable if the town did the grading and did the stonework? And then you just came in and did the asphalt if they weren't comfortable. And he said, certainly. And he said, I said, what about the 1 degree pitch from east to west, which is basically 104 feet each way? And he said, we'll give you an inch. He says, if you can laser it to an inch and we have to fix it, we will. He said, if it's over 2 inches, we'll add to our price. And so things like that, if we don't get the full amount of money, that if the town can say, yeah, we can work with that. And I've talked to them about, the fence post. We've gone away from the big tennis court fences. We're not going to do that. We want to keep it smaller, but it's still, you have to put a fence post in. I went down, actually this is my third point. I want to try to figure out with the town how they can let me help and kind of be, when we get into it, if we're paying for it and bringing people in, how can I help out a little bit without the insurance problems? Whether you hire me for $1 an hour or whatever. I've been going down to Victor where they're converting their tennis courts to pickleball. And yesterday when I was there, they were digging the posts for the pickleball nets. And there was a guy like myself that's spearheading all this. And then there were 2 town employees working. And they were working side by side doing all the work. Jerry got the engineering drawings and all that stuff done. But I don't know what kind of a deal they have, but he just suggested to me maybe I just sign a waiver with you that absolves you from anything that could happen to me, including a spaceship falling out of the thing and knocking me over. But it would be, if we do it that route, I can be very helpful that way on some of the stuff, and we can obviously save money and do more with less. So if you could think about that a little bit, and maybe that's a legal question, I don't know, but
Well, we got a gentleman right here that heard you loud and clear, and certainly we rely on him as input feedback on those types of legal things as well. So,
okay, I think that's my follow-up.
all right.
It's about an hour short of what I would have done 2 weeks ago. They covered most of it.
Yeah, they did a great job. They did a great job.
Okay,
thank
thank
you,
you.
Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Appreciate it.
Jim.
Thank you. All right, let me check the sheet here. We have no further call-ins and no emails and no one else in the auditorium at this time. So the August 18th, 2021 legislative session of the Penfield Town Board will stand adjourned at 7:39 p.m. Thank you to everyone that participated. Thank you to PCTV. Be well, be safe. Thank you.